All right, welcome to Fomal Fever. Sorry we've been away for a few weeks. We've been sick, both of us. Either I had sick with the flu for a week, he was sick a week before that, and we just couldn't get it together. But we're finally here and glad to be talking to you. We've had a lot of football going on. The regular season is unfortunately over, but championship season is upon us. This Saturday is championship week.
Exciting.
And we are very excited, and we're going to go ahead and jump right into the games. We've got big Pac-12 championship game, Utah and Oregon, probably the two teams that most people saw going into this from the beginning of the season as the favorites. And here we are now. Everyone thought that Pac-12's only chance for getting into it was Oregon. Turns out it's actually Utah. Utah has to have this game.
Didn't Lee Corso pick Utah to play?
He did, which would be
it's
pretty
kind of
awesome.
weird.
Yeah, it'd be
No,
cool.
everybody called him crazy.
He still might be.
Yeah, I think
a
he is
little
still
bit crazy. but his prediction could come to fruition. If Utah gets a win and some other teams lose. It's a lot of things that have to play out for that to happen. But as far as the actual game goes, it should be a fun matchup. Who do you see coming away with the victory?
I'm actually gonna agree with Lee Corso on this one.
Okay.
And pick Utah. I think they're gonna make a point and win big.
Okay.
Probably not too big.
Yeah.
They're gonna pull away in the third.
Yeah.
Probably 20 points that they're gonna win by.
Whoa, that's pretty big. That's big. I'd say.
Yeah, they're gonna try to make a point in like why they should be in the playoffs.
Okay. I think they have to win, in my opinion.
Yeah,
It's a must-win game.
There's no doubt it's a must-win.
Everybody in the Pac-12, I think, outside of Oregon fans, need to be rooting for Utah here if they want to see their conference get in.
Has the Pac-12 got into the
very first year with Oregon?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, with Oregon in 2014. We have not seen the Pac-12 since. And the way that they've been Pac-12 has been performing, we shouldn't have seen the Pac-12 since. I think there's still a chance, depending on what happens, that Utah wins and still doesn't get in, which kind of crazy, but we'll talk about all that coming up later in another video. I think I want Utah to win.
Yeah, because they'll be sort of the Cinderella sort of story if they make it to the playoffs.
Sure. They'd be.
And I'm sure everybody would be pulling for them.
I think so. I'd be pulling for them.
Yep.
I'm pulling for
unless you're
Utah.
a Clemson fan or Alabama fan, or not Alabama, but LSU.
They're out.
Yep.
Tigers. Oh my, that's been all over the internet recently. Mocking Nick Saban. Some of those always good. But back to Utah. So I think that they could potentially win this game. I think Oregon's obviously got a good offense that they can shoot the ball around. I think they've been embarrassed as of recently, in the past few weeks, especially near the end of the season. Some of the hopes have been kind of crushed for the Ducks. But it'd be interesting to see Utah get in there. Their defense, it'd be a way different team than the other three that's going to be in if everything goes to chalk. The other three should be Clemson, LSU, and Ohio State. That's, of course, if all three of those teams win. They all have big matchups that we're all about to talk about coming up.
And we'll talk about the order of that in another video.
Yeah, absolutely. So stay tuned to some of our other videos because we do have a lot to discuss with everything going on. But I'm going to pick Utah as well. Nowhere near 20 points. I think they'd actually be lucky if they get 20 points. Just because,
you think so?
Honestly, I do. And it has nothing to do with Oregon's defense. Everything to do with Utah just kind of playing slower and bringing in more of closer to seeing a kind of a West Coast pro style type of offense. Something that we're not used to seeing, and a lot of teams aren't used to playing against, and a lot of people that probably don't know a lot about the Utes as is because of the fact that they just don't get to see them play. They're gonna hopefully get to see them in this Pac-12 championship game.
Yeah, and
it's
an 8:00 game, so more people are going to watch it.
Early enough to chime in. I mean, I know there's some
at
other
least
championship games going on at that time, but it should be fun.
Flipping back and forth.
Flipping back and forth, absolutely. So it should be a fun one. Yeah. Or the way that they have it now.
Yeah,
I think DirecTV, you can watch like 6 games at once. So however,
I know this guy at work that has like 3 TVs in his living room, each with a different game on.
Well, that's probably the way I would do it. That's the way I do it coming in March with the March Madness and all those games that are going on, and that's the way I like to do things there. But I'm gonna go with Utah as well.
And I also love Utah's running back, Z-Moss.
Yeah,
he's really good.
Yeah.
That's another reason why I'm picking him 20 points. I think he's going to show out.
What's that name again?
Z-Moss.
Z-Moss?
Yeah.
That's a cool name. That's a cool name.
We'll just go by Moss.
Yeah, sure. Moss. For Utah, remember that. Write that name down, and somebody to hopefully become a household name overnight if Utah does well. With some other big-time championship games going on, and all of them are big. All of them have big-time implications. We have a rematch in the Big 12 between Baylor and Oklahoma, and fun to actually have a Big 12 championship game now as well. Last time that we saw these two play, Baylor should have won a game that they definitely blew.
I was definitely pulling for them.
Yeah, as another one of those underdog teams that
another
Cinderella story back when we had both Baylor and Minnesota undefeated at the same time. Both of them kind of blew their games that weekend. Do you see any way that Baylor jumps back in there and in this rematch and gets the win?
Definitely. I think that Baylor has a chance to, but I don't think they will.
Sure.
Oklahoma's gonna flex their muscle pretty much. Probably going to win by about 15 points.
Okay.
But, like I said, I've been flipping back and forth between Oklahoma and Baylor. If Baylor wins, it's going to be close.
Yeah.
But I think if Oklahoma wins, it's going to be a little bit... They're going to flex a muscle, like I said. It's going to be a showing for them.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Sure. So Oklahoma, by the way, another team that a lot of people have somewhat forgot about, but they actually still have a chance to go to the playoff as well if they win this. Probably multiple things. Number one, they got to win this game. They probably need to win fairly handily. Utah must lose to Oregon, and Georgia must lose to LSU. All of those things.
So would you put Utah in front of Oklahoma? Even with Utah's
so if Utah wins and Oklahoma wins, who would I have in that fourth spot? Yeah. That's actually a fairly good question.
Or you want to save that for another video?
I think I will save that answer for the next video coming up. And I'll make sure to tell you guys that. But I'm going to tell you right now that it's a lot to actually think about and a lot to consider, and a whole lot of different factors that have to be looked at and talked about.
And Baylor, what if Baylor wins?
Well, if Baylor wins,
they only have one loss, just like Oklahoma.
That is true. I don't know if Baylor's gonna garner the same respect as Oklahoma would, just because
Oklahoma's a name. It's a brand name, pretty much.
Yeah, brand name. We've seen Baylor before. I don't know if it was the very first playoff or the one right after that when we had Baylor and TCU, the 5 spot and the 6 spot, before not get in after fairly dominant season. They could be just as deserving because of the fact that at the end of the day, they've kind of beat the same teams that Oklahoma has because in the Big 12, every single team plays everybody because there's not as many teams. So it's an interesting concept that I don't think a lot of people's mulled over too much, and it is something to think about. But as far as the actual game itself goes, Baylor certainly has that chance because, as we've noted earlier, I mean, they should have won when they were a few weeks ago when they played earlier.
If they'd have scored another 7 points.
If they wouldn't have lost, blew how big of the lead?
28 points.
28 points. I mean, that too. And there's so many.
I mean, it's a good comeback for Oklahoma, though.
Yes, yeah. That's one of those pluses for Oklahoma, but one of those downs for Baylor. And another argument I guess you could have both for and against would be that game, because people arguing for could definitely say, well, Baylor's one loss is to top 15 team, top 10 team in Oklahoma. And then also people could argue against and say, well, yeah, but when they lost that game, they lost a 20-something point lead to Oklahoma, and Oklahoma team that's been somewhat inconsistent throughout the year. And it's a lot to watch for, a lot that's going to play out, and a lot of different factors, like I said, that could happen that may sway my mind or sway some other people's minds going into the following Tuesday after this championship week is over, all said and done. There's just so many factors to play into, and I'm excited to see all those factors play out. I'm going to go with my gut and say that Oklahoma's going to get the win, because I think Baylor's kind of past their prime already. They had their shot. They didn't get it, and Oklahoma, swung and missed, and there's no way Oklahoma kind of, I'm not going to necessarily say lets their guard down, but they have to be ready, real focused going into this game. Absolutely.
I agree.
Yeah, so that's 2. We have obviously
3
5 total Power 5 conference championships. And by the way, a quick shout out to the 6th, the AAC. That should be a fun matchup as well.
I mean, all of them should be fun.
A rematch, actually, of just last week between Cincinnati and Memphis, a game in which Memphis won. So, back to the Power 5 teams, though.
Wait, quick question. You think whoever wins that, you think is going to the New Year's Six Bowl?
They should.
Or do you think it's going to be Boise State?
No, I don't see any reason. Even though I picked Boise State at the beginning of the year, I don't see any reason why it should be Boise State. I think Cincinnati and Memphis have more than proved themselves this year in what is a really tough conference.
SMU.
Yeah, poor Mustangs. They ponied up as long as they could.
I mean, they still did pretty good for this season.
I think it was
first 10-win season since the 80s.
Something to hang their hat on, absolutely. And going forward, who knows if they could continue with that success. So, big shout out to the SMU for sure. But of the matchups coming up in the ACC, we do have the hometown Clemson Tigers. They're taking on Virginia. Quick note, this is the 7th ACC Coastal opponent in the past 7 years. It is the first time that Virginia has ever been in the ACC championship game. Is the level, is that going to be too big for the Hoos?
Yes and no.
Okay.
They're going to lose the game.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be a little bit closer than what people think it's going to be.
Okay.
Do you know the point spread?
I don't know off the top of my head what the point spread is.
It's 29 points or 28.5.
Okay.
But I think it's I definitely think it's going to be a little bit less than that. Probably around 18 points that Clemson's going to win by.
Okay.
It's going to be a third-quarter game. They're going to or being a fourth-quarter game, sorry. Came out wrong.
Sure.
They're just going to pull away late, pretty much.
Okay, yeah.
Clemson is.
Yeah.
Too much defense.
Yeah.
Way too much defense.
I agree with that. 100%. So the moment, like you said, I don't think the moment's going to be too big for Virginia. I like what Virginia's been doing. I like Bronco Mendenhall, their head coach, and I love Bryce Perkins. I think he's a underrated quarterback, one of the best, and definitely one of the best in the ACC. Probably say hands down the best quarterback in the Coastal. I watched their game against Virginia Tech, a rivalry game.
It was a really good game.
That was a good game, and a game that whoever came away with the victory was going to get to meet Clemson in the ACC championship game. And they've had a couple of downs this year, but good. They've been good. And I think definitely if they're not in the top 25, then it's definitely a top 25 type of program. They've been in it earlier.
And he does
in the
really good
season.
considering what talent he gets.
Yeah, considering the talent, considering that it's kind of just Bryce Perkins alone out there offensively. I think they've
And
done
I
well
like their
there.
defense too. They're pretty good. I
Mhm,
like them.
mhm.
They're a solid. They're a solid group overall.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a team that
They're not a pushover.
no, they're not a pushover.
You can't look over them.
No, and they deserve to be where they're at, as opposed to past seasons. We've seen teams
And
before.
honestly, they probably are the second best team in the ACC. What do you think?
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, hands down, they're the second best team in the ACC. Coastal picked itself up a little bit near the end of the year because I think both Virginia and Virginia Tech came up, big time came up. So I would definitely be able to say that without a shadow of a doubt. The only thing that's really too big for Virginia going into this game is Clemson, just because of the fact that now we see the Tigers, they're playing their best football at the best possible timing for it. They're starting near the end of November and working their way to the end of the season. They're exactly where they want to be.
Almost losing that game to North Carolina, it really helped y'all.
That woke them up for sure. And things just haven't been the same since that game, which we figured it probably wouldn't
Yeah,
be.
because it's pretty much every year for y'all. Y'all have one bad game every year.
Yeah, always. There's usually one really close game, and you're gonna have close games. You can't escape a full season
Without having
all
a
the
close
way
game.
without having a close game.
No biters.
And kudos to the Tigers for being able to go. It's like 27-0 now, and two perfect undefeated seasons in a row. I mean that's unheard of. It's absolutely unheard of. So they're obviously ready. They've been at this moment plenty of times before. This is their fifth ACC championship in a row. So it's just that experience, the defense that's going to cause havoc, and if Isaiah Simmons can get in there and disrupt the quarterback and slow Perkins down, it should be a pretty long night for the Hoos. But they should still hang their head high.
And I really like I like Simmons a whole bunch.
He is going to.
I watched him finally. Because I normally don't watch Clemson because they're normally blowouts, all of them.
Yeah.
But I watched them because, as everybody knows, I'm a Carolina fan.
Yeah.
It was sort of a sad day, but I mean, but their Carolina's defense did play pretty good that game, considering.
Yeah.
But I do like Simmons.
Yeah.
From what I saw from him.
Yeah.
A whole bunch.
Yeah. He's gonna be one of the top draft picks for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. But
back on the topic.
Back on the topic, I do have Clemson winning that game fairly big. Probably, I said fairly big. I don't know if they necessarily hit the 28-point spread, but 24, somewhere in that range.
Okay.
Somewhere in that
I
range.
see that too.
Yep. So 2 more left. Both of these are huge. Again, we'll jump over to the Big Ten. We've got. Well, as I predicted from the beginning of the season, we got Wisconsin playing Ohio State. Got a little iffy there for a while. I thought it might be Minnesota, and I was really rooting for Minnesota. But here we are. They were able to squeak out Wisconsin was able to squeak out a great victory over Minnesota, by the way, at the end of the year.
It's pretty. Did you watch the game?
I watched bits and pieces of the game, fighting through the snow. Yeah, it's always fun, of course. What was you gonna say?
From what I saw, Wisconsin almost pretty much dominated the second half. Second half of the game, pretty much.
Yeah,
they looked pretty good. I think
they look back to where they need to look, and they are gonna have to be even better than that, taking on the Buckeyes, who have looked unstoppable throughout this entire season. Still not 100% sure to me whether they deserve that number 1 ranking. Between them and LSU.
That's another
solved,
debate,
but that's a topic that's going to be discussed in the next video. As far as the actual game goes, obviously I love Jonathan Taylor. I think Wisconsin's running game has been strong, and their quarterback has found a little bit of a rhythm. I think he got into a good rhythm against Minnesota last week, but Ohio State is too much talent
Another level.
on the field. It's a whole nother level right
Mhm.
now. I don't see any way possible in my mind that Ohio State loses that game. And I honestly, probably about 21 points, somewhere in that range, that Ohio State's going to win it. Are you
Yes, I'm
feeling
agreeing
somewhat
with you.
the
Yes,
same?
it's
Sure.
pretty much the same. Ohio State winning pretty much like you said by about 21 points. Um, But Wisconsin, I think they're gonna keep it kind of close for a little bit, maybe into the third quarter. Then Ohio State's talent's gonna show through.
Yeah.
Then, yeah, Ohio State's gonna win.
Yeah, I think like chalk. A lot of people already pretty much have Ohio State in the playoffs, so
Mhm.
it's going to take something major to shake things up. And a Wisconsin win would shake things up because we'd have a Big Ten champion that's not going to the playoff unless some really crazy
Crazy
things
stuff. Yep.
happen. I mean, really crazy things. I'm talking probably.
I mean, I don't see any way for them.
I don't see any way, just because of the fact that even if Georgia loses and Utah loses, you still have either Baylor or Oklahoma, one or the other, has to win. They can't both lose the game.
And Ohio State, they'll still have just one loss.
Yeah, Ohio
So
State still have one
And
loss.
honestly, I think Ohio State would probably get in way before
which is
Wisconsin.
even crazier. So, Wisconsin needs a whole lot of miracles to happen just to get the win. Here.
Probably got to blow them out for just to have any chance, and then they got to have Clemson lose.
Yep. Oh yeah, Clemson would have to lose.
Probably LSU to lose, or no,
Either way, one of those is
other
going
way.
in. Wisconsin's not going to
Yes.
playoff. is basically where that whole
This conversation is going.
conversation was going to start with. Wisconsin's not going to the playoffs, but they can play the spoiler, and if they can get a big time win, they can really shake things up. And if you want to see some chaos, have Wisconsin win that game and see what happens. But like I said, that's a low percent. I might even give them maybe a full 10% chance of winning that game. Ohio State, they look good. They look real good. And there's maybe two teams in the country right now between Clemson and LSU
They could beat 'em.
that could actually match up with Ohio State right now, I believe.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But speaking of LSU, the final game, the biggest championship game possibly, number 2 LSU taking on currently number 4 Georgia. This has major implications. Who do you see coming away with the victory?
I love Georgia's defense, but LSU's offense, I feel, is going to be a little bit too much for Georgia. It's going to be a very low scoring game.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, I love Georgia's defense. I think it's probably one of the best in the country. So probably about 2017 around that score.
Okay, sure. That's something I could see.
Because Georgia's offense isn't that good, I don't think.
I don't like their offense this year that much myself.
Very very predictable they've been this year.
Yeah.
Kind of shows in the loss to South Carolina pretty much. But yeah, it's gonna be a low scoring game. 2017, 24, 21 around there.
I agree with the predictability factor of Georgia. Their offense, Kirby Smart, still likes to pound and ground, kind of no matter what's happening, no matter what's falling apart around him. He just continues to go. Georgia's going to be in the first half without one of their star receivers after that fight. Did you see that fight?
Yes,
That
threw him up against the wall.
That was something.
Yeah.
And they kept going at it even after they were already broke it up. You want to talk about pretty good hatred. I don't know what could have possibly been said. Probably something about his mama. That's the best thing I can figure to just go at it like that. But I mean,
and sometimes it's really hard to restrain yourself. Sometimes when somebody says something, he just probably went a little bit too far into doing what he was doing. I mean, I don't condone
violence. Yeah,
but I can somewhat understand.
I suppose so. But you gotta have a more level head than that, especially with a championship game coming up.
Definitely.
Georgia Tech, they didn't have anything to play for. The whole team could have gotten a brawl. They would have been fine. But Georgia has to have more composure. I think about this in a sense when I saw I think it was the Alabama-Auburn game. There was an Alabama player that had got tangled up with a Auburn player at the sideline after a long throw. and it was an accident. You could tell it was somewhat of an accident. His legs accidentally got kind of wrapped around his head, but he tried to get out of there. The guy got up, got mad, started trying to throw punches, and the guy just put his hands up and walked away.
Yeah, it's a very emotional game, so I can, like I said before, it's very understandable.
It's understandable. I can see both ways. Either way, it happened. He suspended the first half of this game. They're going to be missing him. That's probably going to make them run it even more. And LSU's defense, for me, has been kind of up and down. I've seen
they showed pretty good last
times-
week against Texas A&M.
Texas A&M, they looked good. Against teams like Ole Miss, they looked bad.
Yeah,
I
which
mean,
is weird.
real bad. So inconsistencies for LSU show me signs that they are beatable as opposed
A
to.
little off topic, sorry, but
Go ahead.
did you see the celebration that the Ole Miss player did?
No.
That cost
Oh,
over-
you're talking about the in the Egg Bowl.
Yep.
We need to share that video for y'all on the Twitter page because I saw that live and it ended up costing him the game by sticking his leg up like a
cost
dog.
the coaches his job too.
Yeah.
Because he got fired because he lost
talk
the game.
about chain reaction. I mean, there's so many things. You want to talk about discipline? That's worse to me than throwing punches or getting involved in a fight. Because you got that one guy that might be swinging at you and you're kind of defending yourself and swinging back. That's just inexcusable. I have honestly just no words to say about something so stupid. You just can't do that. It cost the whole game when he did that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's like way past sorry because I'm pretty sure he's regretting everything that he's done.
He should be.
Yeah.
Honestly, he should be.
There's probably tons of hate from the Ole Miss fans right now, probably.
I wouldn't doubt it. I would not doubt that one bit, especially with that being such a big rivalry in the state of Mississippi. I mean, but back to the game. LSU's inconsistencies proves to me that they can be beaten. They just don't prove to me that they can be beaten by Georgia. I think Georgia's defense is good, but this is going to be the first time for me that we're going to see Georgia face an offense that's actually really, for me, worth talking about. I haven't seen them. I think Georgia's here for the most part because they were able to luck themselves out of being able to play in the SEC East, and they haven't played any real competition so much outside of Florida. Auburn, I really don't know how great Auburn really is. Even with that win against Alabama, that's without
Did you see
Tua.
the game?
Yeah, I saw that game. It was the
amazing.
craziest game that I've ever seen in my life. Honestly, one of the very best. You couldn't
enjoyed
look
every
away.
minute of it.
Yeah, because you had a game that is 10-10. With like 6 minutes left until halftime, all of a sudden half comes and
starts
it's
clicking.
in the 30s. For both teams, it was so much stuff happened during that game. Probably more things funny things for us to share with you on Twitter. With the you sent me a thing of the dean of students or dean of athletic academics, some type of dean over at Auburn making fun of Alabama, giving every student an extra second on the final exam. I mean, a lot of stuff that came out of that game, and a great win for Auburn. But Auburn, for me, is kind of the same Auburn that I see almost every year. This year, they finally took the Iron Bowl, but every other game that they had where it was a team that was fairly decent that they lost, and they tend to do that, and they do that a lot. So the Auburn game for Georgia,
they just can't quite get over the hump.
Yeah. So that game's not really that impressive to me. I don't think Auburn's offense, even with as much as they were clicking in that Iron Bowl game, I think it's just the emotion of the game at the time. So I don't think Auburn's offense is the type that. It's certainly not LSU caliber type of offense that Georgia's getting ready to see.
Do you like Bo Nix?
Yeah, I mean I like Bo Nix. I think he's going to be good. And like I've said before, if your name's Bo and you're playing at Auburn, you have to be good. It's just set in stone for you. But I just don't foresee any possible reason that Georgia could even come close to a victory in this game. Probably about 17 points.
Okay,
I'd say.
so you think it's gonna be a blowout almost?
Pretty much a blowout as far as with two teams with fairly good defenses goes. A blowout, yes, I honestly do, and I still like what I see from LSU. And it's just the fact of the matter is, the crazy thing here is you have two teams. If LSU wins, LSU's in the playoff. Georgia's out, in my opinion. If Georgia wins, though, which I already said I don't see happening, but if it did, then you have more than likely both LSU and Georgia in the playoffs. Because LSU, that would be their only loss, and I highly doubt they punish them for a loss in the conference championship game. I mean, they'd have to get absolutely shellacked in that game for them to even consider pulling them out. So a lot of interesting stuff, a lot on the line, and depending on where it goes is going to depend on who's in the playoff. Is it one SEC team in LSU, or is it both of them? Because it seems to me, like I said, LSU's in regardless of the outcome. That does it for all of our games, or at least all the Power 5 conference championship games this Saturday. There's not going to be any reason to ever take your eyes off of the TV at all. And by the way, on TV on that same day, quick shout out for anyone that lives in this area. Ren Hurricanes got a state championship coming up.
Against who?
Myrtle Beach. Myrtle Beach. But shout out Hurricanes, and thank you guys so much for watching this video. Tune in to the other video that should be posted right after this one, where we're talking about our picks for the Final Four, or our predictions for the Final Four with the playoff race coming up. Follow us on Twitter at Fumble Fever, and as always, thank you guys for watching.
Thank you.